My God, the amount of ETH I put into these things, 99% of them went to zero.
You take that ETH that was perfectly fine as ETH and barreled into these hyper speculative investments. You are that meme, that dog in the burning fire going, this is fine.
Yeah.
Went from 3 cents to the peak, $28. It did a 5,966% increase after I sold it.
It's roughly a 900x. So for your 10 grand, you would have got 9 million. How do you feel about that, Ben?
And I walked away with probably 8,500 minus fees. I could have walked away with $9 million, but I ended up with a lazy t-shirt. That's a $9 million t-shirt. Welcome back to the Ben Bergs podcast. I am Ben, your favorite high school dropout and CEO of Collective Shift. Alongside me is Bergs, your favorite MBA and COO of Collective Shift, Australia's leading crypto portfolio insights company, providing professional analysis and portfolio strategies for crypto investors like you. We are a unique blend of the established and the self-made, and we're here to break down crypto, business, and personal growth. But we don't just talk shit, Bergs. We give you the insights you need to make better investments, build successful businesses, and level up your life. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking the hard truths. We're talking the biggest crypto mistakes we've made. And we've ran some numbers, Bergs, and we both vomited before we did this episode. I can't believe we're loud.
Mate, it makes me so sick. So we've done this episode and look, we've made so many mistakes. So listen to this so you don't have to make the same ones. So much money's been left on the table. We've learned so much about ourselves. We're going to go into disgusting amounts of detail about what we've done. This is pretty much going to be therapy for Ben and I to talk through our sordid past and mistakes we've made in crypto investing.
Crypto just brings out so much anxiety and stress. Like, it is one of the very few markets that really can get yourself, and on a serious note, it can get you in a lot of trouble. Like, if you're not careful, you really need to have your sort of wits about you, because some of these mistakes can hurt. And I didn't realize this still hurts looking at these numbers 5 years on.
What is wrong with us? Not only is this difficult to understand, it's difficult to implement, and it moves so fast.
Yep.
You have to make kind of quick decisions. And then if you make one, anything can happen in crypto. Like, you've got one coming up that is just an unbelievable story. And now we've been in the game a bit longer. We understand it. We have a plan. We know what to do. We've seen quite a few scenarios that we're actually, quite good at it. But my God, the mistakes we made. Where do we want to start with this, Ben?
Well, where do you want to start? I mean,
let's start at the top. Let's start with a couple of my mistakes.
Okay.
Let's go there, all right? Because yours are an absolute doozy. So are mine. But, all right, crypto mistakes. Let's go. This is the confessional. Oh, mate. So the biggest one for me was barreling into ICOs. I was a mad dog. 2017, couldn't do anything wrong. Any ICO, you do a little analysis, you go, all-star team, yeah, they've got this product, this is going to fit. They've got this token launch, this is happening. We've got like a bloody, whatever allocation discounts.
For the fucking Bunnings for a blockchain. Oh, get me in. Like,
oh, that's it. Free snags on the blockchain. And my God, the amount of ETH I put into these things, 99% of them went to zero. ETH was only $100 at the time. And when I go back and I do my tax and I look at my old accounts, I'm just like, I'm going to spew, going to have a huge vom. This is disgusting. So, but what I would do is I wouldn't actually spend my ETH. I would go and get fiat, put it into ETH, put it into the ICO. But still, if I would have kept that ETH at current day's prices, it's at least a 20x from where it was. All those ICOs went to zero. One or two returned quite a bit. Some of them I didn't. Here's another thing. With ICOs that went gangbusters that were 20 or 30x, didn't sell them. I was like, yeah, this is great. This is running. And then I kind of lost a bit of interest and go, yeah, this is fine. And bang, big bear market, falls off a cliff, drops 99%. And I'm just holding these bags of alts. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? A lot of them, the projects have gone to zero. I've written them off. I've carried forward those losses. That's fine. But then I'm still holding bags of other things. And I'm like, look, I just have to make my life simpler. I've got to offload these bags in the future. But my God, if I would have just kept ETH, mate, we're talking like, top 6 figures, if not 7 figures, I reckon. A crazy amount of money.
I think so many people can also relate to that in the NFT market, like the last 12 to 24 months, where you take that ETH that was perfectly fine as ETH and barreled into these hyper speculative investments, and by the way, this is me, and not really thinking too much about portfolio allocation of exposure to ETH. And all of a sudden you've reduced all your exposure to ETH to buy these super crazy, hyper speculative things that most of them are going to go to zero anyway, and you're left with nothing.
Again, so didn't learn my lesson, barreled into NFTs, not too many. Bought a few that I like. So you see the drop bears up there. They're cheap as, here we go, up there. I buy them because I look at them and I laugh. They're not for investment. They're just for fun. And I like the community because they're a bunch of bogans that play poker. Bought a few other ones and, mate, just seeing them fall off a cliff. And I'm like, did you not learn your lesson? The one time I did have a plan was with Moonbirds, where I structured it properly. I lent myself some money to my trust, did a loan agreement, had the money set up, had it all structured correctly, didn't get onto the whitelist. And that was the first time I would have sold. I would have bought for about 10 or 12,000, would have pulled the trigger at 150,000. That was my plan. That would have happened inside of a week, and I would have made 140 grand profit. That is the first time I had a plan. And since then, I've had a plan, and my God, it feels so good.
Yeah, that's a great point you add around the mistakes that we're sharing today is the reason why we're now winning or can succeed in crypto, because you learn so goddamn quick in this space what you need to do. It's like a failed relationship. You look back and go, fuck, I'm never doing that again.
And it takes a while to learn these lessons. It's taken me at least 2 market cycles. And you don't want to be the person that has to take 2 market cycles, another potentially 8 years. Or if you're right here now, it'll be about 5 years, you'll get into 2 cycles. But you don't want to be that person to learn those lessons. You need to learn them today. And another one I did was, you come into this space and you'll see all these traders. All these traders are making money. This looks amazing. I'm going to be a trader. So you start trading. And I had one win, had another win, had a massive win. And I'm like, yeah, I can do this. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in front of the computer for bloody 10 hours a day while I'm supposed to be at my job working. I'm going through and I'm watching these charts and I'm learning. I'm trying to pretend I can see stuff in the market. And I've got this swing trade on and it's kind of going my way, kind of not. But then I have to go to Japan with my mates. So my trade's on, and then I get over there. I've got a couple of Bitcoin on the line and I'm like, oh shit. This trade's still going on. I should be enjoying my holiday, but the trade's there and then I can't log in with 2-factor authentication. All of a sudden I get an email, I'm going to get margin calls, so I have to add more money. In the end, I'm like, screw this. Just call the trade. I'm like, I'm just going to enjoy my life. I am not a trader. And I put that to bed. And that was the most valuable lesson I have ever learned. Because a couple of wins happen. You get on, or there's a flash crash. I got on with IOTA where it was 50 cents. Within a couple of minutes, it went back up to $5, made a lot of money. You think you're a god. Or you barrel into ICOs where you're listening to influencers and you don't understand at that time that they're getting paid. They're getting a pre-allocation to sell this to you. They're just marketing it, sponsored content for you to get in. Then it goes up a little bit and it's a pump and dump. And when you start to learn this about markets, because a lot of this kind of activity is illegal in traditional markets, or you can't do it. So you don't really see it all that often. And when you start to learn these lessons, you start to understand what kind of investor you are. And for me, I've got all these deep-rooted weird things with finance. And one thing I am good at is having diamond hands, right? I can hold on to stuff and not sell it for infinity, right? Don't understand why, don't really care why, but hey, that's an advantage. So for me, it's dollar cost averaging. And then if I do want to get into spicier things, which I do, I only have a very small allocation. So maybe less than 5% of my crypto portfolio. And I'm okay to go spicy there. But I don't want to allocate too much of my time to it, too much of my money to it. I want to sleep well at night, but I also want to be exposed to that potential upside.
Yeah, that's one of the positives that you have, Bergs. You really know how you want to optimize your investing portfolio. You tell me you don't give a shit about alts because you just don't want to deal with it. You just don't want to deal with about the stress. You're just optimizing for life, happiness, and just stress-free. So if you know that, you're not going to go into start fucking doing day trading,
That's exactly it. So here's my outlook. I've got cash, bonds, stocks, crypto, real estate. Out of all those things, crypto is going to make the most money. Current interest rates are about, let's say 6%. I could put that money against my 6% and I'm making 6%. If I go to an investment, Bitcoin, is it going to make more than 6%? Of course, I think it will. So I put money in there. And then all of a sudden, mate, you hear a story. You're like, oh, I've got this spicy alt. It's doing this, it's doing that. You're like, oh, you get the tingle.
You get the tingle.
Yeah, and you think about all those times and you kind of get sucked into the narrative and you don't want to miss out and you start to get FOMO. But I'm like, hang on, why am I actually here? I'm here because I want to make more than 6%. I don't need to go ultra spicy. And if I am, it's only going to be that 1 to 5% allocation of my crypto portfolio, not my overall investing portfolio across all of those different asset classes. And I've lost so much sleep, and I had quite a bit of regret. I put all that to bed now. But what am I optimizing for? I'm optimizing for greater than 6%, sleeping well at night. That is what I want. And once you know that, it becomes so much easier to invest because a lot of options are just off the table. Speaking of options, I'm not trading options. I'm not trading. I'm not longing and shorting. I'm not getting into super spicy things. I'm not doing leveraging ETH. I'm not staking. I have a very clear plan of what I like to do. Yeah. And it does take a while to come to, first of all, understand yourself and then talk to an expert to get to where you need to be.
So it's self-awareness, man. Like if you didn't have self-awareness, you wouldn't know any of that, you know? Super important.
Exactly.
Super important to know exactly your investing style, your emotional ability. I'm the same. Mate, I wouldn't even put on a trade. You know, I just know it's not gonna play out for me. Like I'm not a trader. Long only investing.
Oh, and mate, one final lesson from me before we get to yours because it's so spicy. So, just before the recent bull run, I think ETH was the 2020-21 bull run. ETH was about $700, and I was talking to one of our mates, Erickson. I'm like, "Oh, lad, I'm going to go in. You know, this is the time." Had about 20 grand I wanted to put into ETH, just move it over, and ETH went from $700 to $900 within a day, and I was like, "Fuck this noise! Like, it's gone up like 20%. I can't afford this. This is ridiculous. I'll wait for it to come down. Oh, this is just stupid." Day after that, $1,100. Day after that, $1,500. A week later, 2 grand. 2 weeks later, 4 grand. And I'm just sitting on the sideline, holding my 20 grand, doing nothing, losing money because it's just getting inflated away.
Mate, you are that meme, that dog in the burning fire going, "This is fine."
Yeah. And it's like, I remember seeing one of my mates, a real estate agent, and he's got this picture of this skeleton sitting on a bench, and he's like waiting for real estate prices to come down.
Waiting for these prices to come back down.
Oh, exactly. And that lesson taught me so much. And now if I had my time again and I had 20 grand and I felt that way, I would put in 20% when it went to 900. And if it goes up, just start averaging in until I felt the price was too high or I was due for a pullback. And I would use a little bit of technical analysis just to see where the market is at, if it's slightly overheated, if it's likely there's going to be a pullback, just for an entry, not for trading. And that way, at least I'm in the game, I'm averaging in. And now I've even upframed that further where I take a certain percentage of my income that I get every week and I dollar cost average that into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I also have savings that I'll put lump sums into as well. So I want to automate as much as I can, remove as much emotion as I can, get off the tools as much as I can to save it for those really novel, spicy things when I see something in the market.
Yeah. I like it, man. Great lessons. And you take those lessons into learnings, right? That's now what we teach over Collective Shift. Like, so many people go through similar stuff.
Exactly. And people think that you need to be really active. You don't. You need to understand yourself, where you want to be and what your goals are, and then map to those goals and put a plan in place. The more hands-off you are, the better it is, because the more you're on the tools, the more you are going to stuff it up.
Right. And the less prepared you are in terms of the less prepared you are of how it plays out, and the less prepared you are of what you're going to do at certain points, the worse it'll be. So what we see, 90% of people just don't have a plan, don't have a strategy, and they go, and they don't make money because they don't know what they're doing. And in a crypto bull market, it is hyper emotional, hyper euphoric, hyper fucking chaotic. And that's why most people end up just as where they were before the bull market, or sometimes even worse.
Even in 2021, we had a meetup in Melbourne, and I came down, and the amount of people I talked to that are like, "Yeah, I had enough for a house, had a couple of mil on paper, had this, had that," and it just all went to zero. It's incredible. Like, and this is the thing, we all always think about, I'm investing because money's supposed to go up. But when you're investing, you need to have a plan.
Yeah.
If it goes up or if it goes down, have a plan either way. We're going to do an episode on that. That'll be a really good one.
Yeah, I agree. Great lessons, Bergs. Unfortunate mistakes, but great lessons. Right, I've got two. One major fuck up, one pretty bad one. Save the major one to the end. The first one is I got sucked into a narrative. This narrative was something that was hyper. What was it? It was very. There was a lot of attention around it. This was sort of like 2018, 2019 era. There was a guy on YouTube putting out a lot of content. It was called the hyperwave theory. Do you remember this? The hyperwave theory?
Yeah. I
don't remember exactly the theory, but it was this guy who was creating a lot of content around this idea of the hyperwave theory. He's from the US, and this Tyler Jenkins, his name, and it was all about how Bitcoin was going to return to $1,000, and all these. He produced so much content around this. He was founder of this thing called Lucid Investments, and he'd had 40 years of experience in investing in capital markets. He'd been through several bear markets, and there was this phase 1 to 7 of a hyperwave, and we were like on phases 4 or 5, and phase 7 was when we basically reduced right down to $1,000, and he was saying the probability of this is 100%, and it was at the time it was playing out, and it got so much traction that it was nearly oh my god, he's just right. Look at this, it's going to go $1,000. And I remember the time going, okay, I've watched this guy for a while now. So many people listening to him. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. I need to sell my Bitcoin. I'm just going to buy back into the bottom. It's just going to be easy. And I didn't sell all of it, thank goodness, but I sold a decent chunk and was going to buy back in the market. And I remember selling and sort of sitting on the side of the market for a couple of weeks. I remember thinking what if this guy's wrong? What if he is wrong and this market just rallies and now I'm just sitting like an absolute idiot in cash? Is that what I want to be? Well, how am I going to feel if this market rallies versus it goes down? And I end up deciding I'm going to feel worse if this market rallies and I listen to this guy on the internet and not actually listen to myself with the conviction I have in the assets. I end up getting back in the market. Turns out it was completely wrong. And the biggest lesson I learned around listening to people online, and not to say that everyone's wrong, but understanding where you get your information from and who's saying it and what their incentives are and why they're creating what they're creating is the most important thing when consuming content in crypto land, because there's so many people out there that are doing it for the wrong reasons. Not to say this guy was doing it for the wrong reasons. I think he might have just been wrong. But having conviction yourself and getting information from the right sources is one of the biggest factors of winning and losing, because you can get sucked into narratives from listening to one person about this potential crazy theory. And if you believe that, you better hope that they're right, versus getting your information from a platform where you can get multiple opinions, you get multiple different analysis types, because there's no blueprint to crypto, right? There's different, you got to look at macro, you got to look at on-chain, you got to look at fundamentals, there's a range of different things. One of the reasons why we create a collective shift, to give you that sort of 360-degree view. Yeah, but you can get really sucked into these narratives, and when you really start to believe someone online, it can be pretty scary what they end up telling you to do. It's nearly like a cult.
It is, and people get amongst it. And you see this with things like with Hex, where people get into that, is down bad, but they've got bags, and they just keep saying it's going to be a thing. That is what they're telling themselves. It's a story they're telling themselves. And there's a quote where it's, show me the incentives and I'll show you the result. So if you look at the incentives behind the people, you'll understand what drives them and what they're moving towards.
Yep.
And the reality is that in markets, and even if we upframe this in life, no one knows what is going to happen. You look at your life, would you have predicted in the last 5 years all the wild things that happened to you as an individual, dear listener, would have actually happened? No. If you had an accident, or you met your wife or your husband, or you had another child, or you got this job, or the serendipity, you would never predict any of that. Even in the psychology of money, where they say when Japan was getting bombed after the World War, it was just destitute, right? After World War II. And if someone came along and told you, oh, we're going to be world leaders, our money's going to be sound, we're going to have the best electronics, we're going to be thriving, we're going to have all... People would think you are absolutely crazy.
Yep.
So no one knows what is going to happen in the market, but you can position yourself so that you can take advantage of when things are actually, increasing in value, or if they're decreasing. Like, you need to have a plan and think long-term. Like, the secret to the majority of investing is long-term, is compounding. That's like 90% of it.
Yeah.
And then if you really want to get those, huge gains, it can be through concentration in riskier assets.
Yep.
And mate, speaking of risky assets,
Speaking of long-term,
you have to tell your story.
So 2018 Bergs, I'm in Sydney. I'm at EdCon, the Ethereum conference, in Sydney. Ethereum at this point in time, man, it was sub $100. Like, I remember being at the conference. There was fuck all people there, mate. It was like bear market 2018. Bitcoin, it was like late 2018. So Ethereum was like, like $80, maybe somewhere there. I think it was like late 2018. Actually, might have even been 2019, early 20. Anyway, no, it was like $80 because I remember the questions were coming up like when do we think Ethereum was gonna hit $100 again? And we're in this conference room, and Vitalik's up the front with some of the ETH devs, and he's just getting grilled, wanting to know when the price is gonna go up. And then we went into the main hall, and this guy came out, Kane Warwick, and actually, so I don't know if it was Kane or his brother, one of the Warwick brothers. Anyway, founder of Synthetics. At the time, it was called Haven, and I was like, sitting listening to this thing, and like a lot of it was over my head, but I was like, this thing sounds super fascinating. Like what on earth is this thing? Like the vision sounded really interesting. It was basically like, this like protocol where you could like do these crazy like synthetic asset like on-chain trading on these like different assets, and I was just like, right, this thing sounds kind of crazy, but like if he pulls this off, it's kind of like going to be massive. And I was like, you know what, I listen to this guy, he seems genuine, like he's got a good background, I like the idea, like let's just have a tickle. So back in 2018, it was Haven. It was, I can't remember exactly the price.
Yeah. Hold on. Before we continue, dear listeners, if you are eating at this point in time, just maybe just pause this or just stop it for a while. And if you're driving your car, just prepare yourself, because it's coming. It's coming, Ben. So what price was it at the time, mate?
I think approximately it was somewhere. So it was called Haven at the time, and it migrated to Synthetics. Synthetics started. When Synthetics started, it was at 3 cents. So Haven would have been somewhere between 1 and 3 cents. Oh, God. And I probably put in somewhere like 10 grand, I reckon. 10 grand, like, let's just say it's 3 cents. Look, my hairs are sticking up on my arm. I'll get really like sweaty palms just even thinking about this. So I put in like, let's say 10 grand at 3 cents. I was like, okay, this is a good investment. Let's just hold on to this. Let's have a tickle. See where this goes. Doesn't do anything, Berg, for like 6 months. Right. And I remember, if you remember back in the day, everyone had the altcoin picks. I didn't have a heap amount of cash in my name. Sitting on this Haven thing, I was doing fuck all. I was like, fuck this thing. I'm wrong. Got it wrong. This thing's doing nothing. Sold everything. Sold it all. 6 months. Fuck this thing. I'm going to go somewhere else. Rotated into some other like ADA or some shit. Anyway, terrible decision. Within 2 months, Bergs, this is like, it's probably 2 months, because this is now early 2019. Synthetics launch. It's rebranded to Synthetics, right? Okay, amazing. Kind of forgot about this point. Like, it's doing nothing. It didn't do anything for another year or so, right? Well, it didn't do anything. It went from like 3 cents to like $1 in a year.
Which is nothing in crypto, lazy 30x.
No, lazy 30x, right? Whatever. And then the bull market comes. And this thing went from 3 cents to the peak, $28. It did a 5,966% increase after I sold it. It went to 28.
Oh my God. And that's after you sold it. So before you sold it, it's roughly a 900x. So for your 10 grand, you would have got 9 million. How do you feel about that, Ben?
And I walked away with probably 8,500 minus fees.
Oh my God.
So, but Bergs, I have something to show for it. I have a Haven t-shirt. They gave me a Haven t-shirt as a supporter because I went to one of their events, man. I went to one of their early investor events and got a Haven t-shirt. I could have walked away with $9 million, but I ended up with a fucking lazy t-shirt.
You still wear that t-shirt? Is that just to remind yourself, just to punish yourself, man, every day? $9 million, mate.
That's a $9 million t-shirt.
Mate, I'd be keeping that t-shirt as well. That's like Moonbirds with the socks. All I got was the socks.
I use it as a t-shirt at night time. I cry into the t-shirt at night time.
$9 million, mate. That is incredible.
So
these are,
So there's a few lessons here. The biggest ones I've taken away is like when you have conviction, hold on for long periods of time, double down on the investments that you like. Don't get bored. Startups take a long time to start up. We know it. We're building one. You know, don't get bored and sell too early. And if you have conviction, back yourself. Do I regret?
take action.
Take action. Do I regret selling? Well, you know, of course, at some extent, yes. But where it's ended, like if I made $9 million, would I have started Collective Shift? Would I have been here? Probably not. So, you know, you got to take a bit of grain of salt. Like it would have changed the direction of my life completely, and I'm fucking happy with where I'm at. So, like, I think some things happen for a reason. $9 million would have been nice. I'm not saying it wouldn't be, but you know, one of those.
That's interesting because you would have $9 million, but would you have gone through all the things you've gone through in the last couple of years, building a business, all the personal growth, and be the human you are today? It's these weird little things where you're at a crossroads and like one path just goes, you don't really think about it.
Yeah.
But it completely changes the trajectory of your life.
100%. And let's be honest, listeners, like I'm not going to not sell anything and sell at the peak to top and like just get in and out right at the bottom, right at the top. It doesn't happen that way. So like, you know, you wouldn't make $9 million anyway, but it was a shitload of money. And the biggest thing I think now is having a sell strategy, because even if I held on to it, I wouldn't have been able to sell at the top. I probably would have sold it way beforehand, right? So we're going to do an episode on how to create a sell strategy, because I think that's the difference between winning and losing in crypto, like we've spoken about, Bergs. There's a lot of lessons there. But yeah,
that's huge.
That's some sickening lessons.
And also having an accountability partner. So Ben and I actually keep each other accountable. We've been talking recently.
Yeah.
And I think during the bull market, we'll definitely have to keep each other accountable. And we lean on the team as well to run our ideas past them. And it's a real challenge when you have a strategy. Let's say you've got one, and then it comes time to execute. That's another challenge.
You've got to go. You got to go.
Yeah. Do you actually execute, or be like, oh, just wait a little bit longer, squeeze another 10 or 20%. And then you need people to keep you accountable, saying, no, you're doing it for this reason. This is why. Go and do the thing you said you were going to do, because you're caught up in emotion and that guides your decision making.
Yep. Spot on, man. Totally agree. Have that accountability partner. So we're going to talk about that all in another episode. But we might wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for sitting in therapy with us. That was nice to get that off our chest.
I do feel a lot better, and I feel better because $9 million.
Fuck off.
But mine was only probably $1 million, so $9 million, mate. Oh. There's always someone that's got more money or less money or lost more or whatever than you.
Yeah.
But mate, both life-changing amounts of money.
Lessons learned.
And I'm sure as shit not going to make those mistakes again.
Exactly. I'm sure as shit know that, everyone listening to this podcast also won't make those same mistakes. So,
I'm going to keep you accountable. And if you don't action it, I'm literally flying to Tassie or Melbourne and going to make you act it.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you've got a friend, family member, crypto buddy that you think would find this episode interesting or valuable, we'd love for you to send it to them. Hit that little share button, WhatsApp it to them, messenger or tweet at them. That's how we grow the podcast. We're grinding day after day. We're a year in, fam. Thank you so much for listening. We're nearly up to 10,000 downloads on the pod. We're up to 100,000 views on YouTube. So thank you, everyone that follows us across. As always, you can watch these podcasts if you want to see our ugly faces on YouTube. And as always, we'll keep delivering you quality crypto insights on a weekly basis. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next episode.
Best Liz on the internet. Thanks, Rollins.
Thanks, guys.